Okay, I'm recording, and it's all yours, Carlos.
Okay. Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. And welcome to this Metal Takeoff check-in presentation. First, I would like to introduce myself. For the ones who don't know me, my name is Carlos Haro. I've been working for Walt for 12 years. The first 7, I was in the shop doing, well, as a production worker, doing assembly, fabrication, packaging, you name it. And for the last 5, I've been with the Takeoff group as a project coordinator. And just to mention it, for the last 9 weeks, I've been a teacher to my daughter, which is a 2nd grader. So it's been busy here at home. So for this presentation, Saul will be assisting me. In case you guys have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or type your question on the chat, and Saul will let me know if somebody has a question. Okay, so I'm gonna start our presentation with these 3 items, key takeaways. These are 3 points that I would like you guys to remember, and I will be talking about these 3 throughout the course of this presentation. The first one is understanding the check-in metal process. And I have, on the later slides, I have a video, and I put all the steps down. So we're gonna talk about this later on. Importance of checking. Why is it important to check the metal, right? Because we don't want to carry a mistake to the next person, right? We don't want to order the wrong part numbers or the wrong colors of metal, and later find out that the shop is being delayed because of us. So that's why it's so important to check ahead of time, and also how this process will help others down the line, right? When we release the metal from checking to the next customer, which will be the guy doing the fabs, we want them to have a clean product from us. So a clean metal takeoff and a clean glass takeoff. So they don't have to worry much about or digging about some stuff, right? We're trying to get it as close, as perfect as we can. How the metal takeoff is scheduled? Well, we schedule the metal based on the production schedule. But what I look at is to the takeoff matrix, right? As you can see in the picture on the right, that's how the takeoff matrix looks like. And this is where I'm gonna find all the jobs that are going to take off, metal and glass. And also we're showing when the IDs are happening, when the drafting should be checking the model, and when Saul is working on the pallet schedule, right? And try to explain the colors on the takeoff matrix. Well, green means that the job is completed. Orange means that we're currently working on it. Like in this case, as you can see, on the week of April 20th, we were working on Band's headquarters for metal and Google Building 1 for glass. The next job coming for us in takeoff will be Matilda. As you can see, we'll be working on it in a couple of weeks. The yellow means that the job either move up or down for us. So we always have to keep an eye on this. This matrix usually I'm sorry, I just received a call from Mario. So the production schedule usually is updated every week. So we always have to keep a look on it, make sure the dates don't move on us, or if it moves, we have to be ready to start working on the metal or glass. Now I'm showing you guys a visual of how the process looks like so far. in the takeoff group. Like everybody saw in the first class, Saul and Quentin, they're the ones that first touched the project by creating the database, unit IDs, and later on the pallet schedule. Then the project will go to Joe and Pedro. They're gonna be working on the setup and also creating the prototype units. And that we also last week on the Metal Takeoff class, Jan and Margie, they also working on setup, also checking the model and producing what is the unit assembly drawings for checking and also the field use for checking. And the next step is when I come into the picture, I'll be checking the metal. And also while I'm checking the metal, I will be also adding comments or markups to the drawings, right? So as I'm checking the model, the metal, I'll be checking also the drawings. And when I'm done checking, I will let the operator know, in this case, Jana and Margie, that all the units and field use are ready and checked for them to update and to send the final release to the PM. Pre-takeoff meeting notes. This meeting happens the week before we start the metal. And this is a very important meeting because everybody who's somehow involved in the project are invited from the shop, field, panel group, break shapes. Sometimes the drafter is there, Steve Larson, Steve Watts, and Tom Lackey if it's a Southern California job. And in this meeting, the PM will answer a series of questions. And this is the #1 document that we're gonna go to if we have a question during the metal week. 80% of the questions will be answered in this meeting, but not all the questions. So that's why it's so important for the PM to be available and to try to answer the questions as soon as they can, because we have 1 week to start producing the unit, to check the unit, and to release the unit. So it's only 5 working days for us. And that's why it's so important for the PM and also the drafter to be involved and also be available for us. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next step. Does anybody have any questions so far? Everybody's good? Easy to follow? Okay, so now what do we check? During the Metal Takeoff week, we check the unit assembly drawings and we also check the field use parts, right? Unit assembly drawings is all the parts that the shop will need to assemble a unit, right? Seal, head, horizontals, face stops, head members, everything that the shop will need to complete a unit, right? And field use parts, of course, everything that the field will be installing, like I said, in the field. The tools used for checking. The first one is a very basic one. It's a calculator. We try to use those calculations as much from the calculator and from the set of drawings. That's why it's so important to have the latest set of drawings and to be as accurate as it can be. There's cases when we don't have the information on the drawings, and that's when I'm gonna be using or opening either the CAD elevation or the CAD details, so I can measure and get dimensions myself. If those dimensions are important and they need to be on the drawings, I'm gonna be marking up the drawings. The Revit model is something that I try not to use as much, but is as sometimes as important as the CAD files. Why? Because sometimes there's information that's missing on the drawings. It's not too clear on the CAD elevations or CAD details. So I will open the Revit model and I will make my own live cut, right? And try to get my information, because sometimes it's preferred to ask the drafter for this information, but since I only have 2 days to check all the units and about a day to check all the field use, sometimes I try to find the answers by myself, since I know how to do it. And I will mark it up in the drawings, and I will let the drafter know that I added some comments, and if they can please confirm that my dimensions are okay, are correct. Okay. And here are the steps I follow to check the unit assembly drawings. First, I will open the unit key sheets in the metal checking folder. Secondly, I will open the unit assembly drawing. And for this, I will prefer to have the key sheets linked. That way I can only click on the unit and it will open it instead of going back to the folder and open individual one. So this saved me time. The first thing that I will check on the unit will be the daylight openings and the unit heights. Once I have these 2 dimensions, everything in the unit, it will be easier for me to check. Secondly, I will start highlighting the metal table, which is on the top right corner of the unit assembly drawings. And I will highlight and make sure the part number is correct, we have the right length, and we have the right finish. Step number 5, I will add markups and comments as needed. And once I'm done checking the unit, I will go back to the key sheets and I will highlight the unit red or green, right? Green is good, red means the unit needs to be updated, or there's something on the unit that we need to discuss. After that, I will repeat the steps 2 to 7, 2 to 6 until all units are checked. So after I'm checking all the units on the key sheet, and just to make sure I check all the units, I will go back to the folder and I will open a preview on the folder, and I will go through every single unit, make sure all units have some kind of highlight. If there's a unit that's missing, that doesn't have any comment, any highlights, I will try to find it on the key sheet. And if it's missing, I will talk to Jana. Sometimes the units are on the floor plans because of multiple quantity of elevations. And for that, I need Jana to find the unit for me. And we can also update it on the model. And finally, I will let the operator know that all units are checked so they can start updating. Okay. So on the next slide, I have a video of what this process looks like in real life. So I hope you guys enjoy it. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do a level check.
I think we don't have audio, Carlos. Do you want me to do something or just to explain something on this?
I think the audio cut because he put himself on mute.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. It looks like I was muted. Hi. In this video, I'm going to show you how.
And Carlos, turn your volume up as well. We can't hear the volume very loud either.
Okay, yeah, for some reason I was trying to connect from my computer, but somehow my mic is not stopped working, so I'm zooming from my phone. So I'm gonna try to put my phone as close as I can to the speaker and see if you guys can hear it there.
There's actually a setting if you stop share and then reshare when you're sharing, you can share your computer's audio. When you first share, you have that option.
In this video, I'm gonna show you how I do my metal takeoff.
So Carlos, that didn't work either. So you may want to try the other option where you're just getting your speaker and your microphone close together,
Or do it live.
or just tell us what you're doing. Yes.
Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna do that. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk on top of the video. In this video, I'm gonna show you how I do my metal check. Okay, so in this video, I'm just showing you guys the folder where I can find the metal folder for checking. As you can see all the units and the model keys. And for this step, I always like to create my own copy. That way, I have one blank key sheet, and the other one is the one where I will be adding all my comments and my markups. Okay, that's 16. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Okay, so as you guys can see on the left side of the screen, I have my unit keys. And on the right side, I have the latest set of drawings. In this case, I have a PDF open. And the way I like to work is once I start working on a new elevation, I always try to start from the first unit on the left side, which in this case is unit U003. And the first thing, as I mentioned on the steps, will be to check the daylight. So I'm gonna grab the dimension from the top, the 2 feet 6 inches, and I will start making my deductions based on the dimensions that are on the details. Okay. As you guys can see, on the jam side, we have a 1.25 inches of a cut joint, and the jam volume is 2 3/4 wide. So I will start making my deductions. And from the male side is 2 3/4 for the split volume, so that makes 1 3/8 to the daylight. After doing that calculation, 24 5/8 is correct, so I will highlight it green. After I I check the daylight, I will go and check the unit height, which in this case is 10 feet tall. And I will start making my deductions, minus 3/4 of an inch in the bottom, minus 1.25 inches from the top, right? To the top of the joint, to the top of the head member. And that gives me 118 inches. Then I'm gonna highlight it green. After that, I'm gonna start checking what's on the table on the top right corner. And I will go through this table. For this table, I'll always like to start checking from the bottom up. So from the seal, horizontal, and head member, and then from left to right, or from the captured to the invert. Right. First thing I'm gonna check is if we have the right part, which in this case is W751117X, and the length, same as the daylight, 24 5/8, and the finish. In this case, for this elevation or for this job, we have two different finishes. For this elevation, we have the 2AL-2. So I will go back to the general notes, find that information, and see what's the finish required for this elevation. In this case, as you can see, it's charcoal. We also have a bone weight finish, but for this one is charcoal. So with that said, I know all my parts on this elevation are gonna charcoal finish. Okay, so now that I know the seal is correct, so I will move on to the exterior stop. W75-1344, I know it's correct, finish is correct, and length is correct. Now moving up to the horizontal body, 2102, and to the face stop, 1301. And I will highlight on the table. Now to finish all the horizontal parts, I will check the head member, W75-3170, which length is the same as the daylight, and the finish is charcoal. Now I'm gonna check all the vertical parts, starting from the left, which is the capture jump, which now we know it's 118 inches. Just to confirm, we have the right part number, W75-4113. The length is correct, and the finish is also correct. Now to the male vertical. As we know, this is an invisible vertical, so it will be 7/16 shorter from the face top, as we can see in the detail. Just pause. Okay, so we have the W75-5382, which is the adapter. Again, that will be the same as the vertical. The 5383, which is the pressure bar. And finally, the exterior stop, right, which will be the same as the jam, 118 inches and finished charcoal. Okay. If you guys give me a second, it looks like we have some kind of issue.
While you're doing this, we had a question from Heather. She was asking why the W75-3203 was not picked up, and then thanks to Bill and Steve, it was answering like this is field use on the package, and it will be included into the seal runner, just for reference for everybody on the meeting.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought I was talking and my thing stopped for a second. Okay. So I'm gonna play this back. So that unit 3 is correct. So now I'm gonna jump to the next unit over, which is unit U002. And I will repeat the same process, right? Starting, in this case, I know my vertical height is 118 inches. So that's the first thing I'm gonna check. And then I'm gonna check the daylight. In this case, 5 feet from center line to center line minus 2 inch and 3/4 from the vertical mullions. That gives me 57 and a quarter. Now I'm gonna check the table. I usually like to review the drawings ahead of time. So by the time I'm doing my check, I'm very familiar with the parts. So at this point, I usually only look at the detail if there's a new condition, if I know there's something not right. But if I'm not sure, I will always open the details. But like I said, at this time, I've pretty much memorized all the part numbers. And this is a street window elevation. So we keep, we use the same sill, the same horizontal, same head member. So it's very easy to remember. So I'm gonna go through every single item on the table and check the pieces. In this case, the female vertical is new. So I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna open the detail, make sure I have the right part. And I'm gonna start checking and highlight every single part. That means that I reviewed, and I'm okay with all the parts that are on that unit. Okay. I'm gonna highlight the unit in the key sheet, green. And now for the last unit, which is unit 01, I will repeat the same process, right? 118, I will check the DLO. Since this is a new unit, it's the same as the opposite. You can see they share the same detail, the same dimensions on the top from center line to the DP. So the daylight is the same, right? But just in case, you can always look at the drawings, make sure I'm right, make sure the details are okay, and the unit is fine. Now I'm gonna go through all the parts and highlight, make sure this unit is correct. Right? The face top, the horizontal body, head member, capture jam, and the female vertical. Okay. I'm gonna save the unit. I'm gonna go back to the keys. I'm gonna highlight it green, and I will repeat this process with the next elevation, right? After I'm done with all the units, all the elevations on the key sheets, just to make sure I didn't miss a unit, I will open the folder. I will open the preview. I will change the view to preview, and I will go through every single one. Make sure there's a highlight, right? Either green or red, make sure all the units are checked. If I found that a unit is not highlighted, I will go back and try to find it myself. If I cannot find it, I will ask Jana. Sometimes those units are, hidden and on the floor plans. Sometimes we have multiple quantity of elevations, and one of them are different than the others. And so she will help me with that, and I will go back and check it, and we will update the model accordingly. Does anyone have any questions about this part of the process?
I just have one, I guess, on that last elevation. I think it had a quantity of 2. So that gets covered, because you're checking the units there on that elevation, but there was 2 of that elevation. So how does that quantity get covered? Did I miss something? Or?
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned in the last step.
Mhm.
So I check the units that are on the key sheets, right? If one of those units for any reason changes a mark number, let's say one of them, you have two of those elevations, and one of those two elevations, one is U07, right? I'm gonna miss it. I'm not gonna be able to check it because it's not on the key sheet. In that case, that's why at the end, I go back and go through all the units that are listed for checking on the folder. And if I see this one that's not highlighted, I will try to look for it. In that case, sometimes I will ask Diana to run the floor plans so I can find the unit on the floor plans, and I will check that. And that unit needs to be similar, or it needs to be the same mark number or unit mark number than the other elevation, right? Because those two are the same. In that case, we need to update the model and make sure we have the right unit on the right elevation. So it shouldn't be, all the units on those two elevations should be the same. If there's one that's off, we need to update it. Okay. I hope that answered your question, Joe.
Yep, thanks.
Okay. Any other question?
Did you
Okay.
used to put the underline after the file name after you check it?
I'm sorry, Yana, what was that?
I remember you used to put the underline after the file you check it. You're not doing it anymore.
Underscore.
Underscore.
Oh, the underscore?
Mm.
Well, I used to do it, but we got to the point that, we have bigger jobs, right? And for me to every time go back to the folder and change the name on the unit, it was taking me too much time. I know it doesn't seem like a lot of time, but when you have 200, 300 units to check, it takes time. If you add all that time, it was kind of difficult for me to just be changing the names. So that's why I decided just to highlight it on the key sheets, and at the end, just go through them, make sure I didn't miss any. I know in smaller jobs I can probably do that. I know it's easier for you to see which units are checked and which units still need to be checked. But yeah, in the bigger projects, it's kind of hard to check all that amount of units in that time given, which is, like I said, usually 2 days for units and 1 day for field use. No more questions? Okay. So now I'm gonna go through to the field use check-in steps, which are very similar in some way to checking a unit. We'll be looking for parts, length, and finishes. But in this case, I'm gonna be checking the metal on the key sheets, and also on the metal takeoff by elevation sheet. Field use parts. Of course, if you guys would like to know which are usually the parts that we're looking as for a field use, are the seal tracks, head inserts, all the exterior covers that are installed in the field, minimax, hood plugs, seal trims, etc. Right? There's depending on the job, sometimes we have a horizontal exterior covers and some other stuff. And again, I will add my markups on the key sheet and on the metal takeoff sheet as needed. Green if it's good, red if it needs an update. Also, and this is, I think, one of the main important steps, is check the quantity of elevations. Like Joe mentioned on his question, there are elevations that are multiple. And if for example, on this job, we need 10 of this elevation and we only have 8 on the field use, that means that we're gonna be short. So that's why this is one of the most important things to check on the field use. Make sure you have the right quantities for the right elevation. And after I'm done checking, again, I will let the operator know that all the field use parts are checked, and so they can start doing updates. And now I have another video explaining this process, and I'm gonna be talking to it. Okay, as we can see here, I have my key sheets on the top and the metal mark numbers by elevation in the bottom. And on the right side, I'll have my set of drawings. This is what the folder for field use Metal Takeoff will look like. We have all the key sheets and one single sheet, which is called metal marks by elevation. And that's where I'm gonna be adding my comments. Okay. So once I have those two open, for this training, I'm choosing the same elevation that I was using to check the units, which is elevation 2 on 201 for band's headquarters. Okay. Like I said, one of the most important things to check now is the quantity, right? Make sure we have the right quantity of elevations. So later on, we're not either short or over in metal. As we know, the color or the finish for this job is charcoal for this elevation. So I'm gonna be highlighting that green. So I'm gonna start checking my metal. There's no specific order for me to check metal that I prefer. It usually depends on the size of the job. But for this exercise, I'm gonna start checking the seal members. And this is when I'm gonna start using the CAD. I can either do the math from the center of that bay where they have that triangle to size them. But just to make it easier for this presentation, I will open the CAD elevation and measure it from that point all the way to the DP on the right, on the left side. And from there, I'm gonna start making my deductions. In this case, will be -1 inch, right? Or -1 inch and a quarter to the end of the capture jam, plus a quarter, which is our standard. That's where the end is, right? After doing my math, I confirm that the size is right. We have the right part, 11/16. Now I'm gonna check the opposite side. And again, I can either do the math or I can just open the CAD drawing, make sure we have the right dimension. In this case is 10 feet, right? And I will do my calculation from there, minus a quarter of an inch of the, on the splice, -1 inch from the right side. And I will get 118 inches and 3/4, right? Now I'm gonna start moving up and I'm gonna check the seal trims, right? The seal trims for this project, and I'm pretty sure this is the standard, will go from center line minus a 32nd, and from the jam side, it will be to the edge of the jam. So I can start doing my math. From that point to the center of the unit, minus a 32nd. In this case, I think it's not the right size, but it's bigger by a 32nd.
We have a question from Ron. He's asking, do you confirm the end-dumps at this stage? No. I know it's part of the setup. Margie will be working on the setup. She will be adding whatever is available for her. In this case, the end-dumps are gonna be there, but I don't check those. At this point of this
process or at this stage, Saul hasn't worked on the break shapes yet. So that's why I don't see the point of checking them. I know those mark numbers probably will change depending on the job. So no, to answer your question, no, I don't look at the break shapes. Okay. So now
you can also mention that you're not checking the miscellaneous and you're not checking the door metal.
That's correct. What I will be checking is, like for this training, will be the metal takeoff. The week after the metal, I will be checking the glass. But yes, it's important. Nobody checks the miscellaneous but the operator. So that's why it's important for the PM to always double check the miscellaneous, because I don't look at that. So yeah, to answer your point, yes, I don't check the miscellaneous, only glass and metal. Okay, so continue with the video. I'm gonna now check the seal trims for the units in the middle, which will be center line to center line. In this case, 5 feet minus a 16, 30 seconds from each end, and that's correct. And I'm gonna check the opposite unit, which will be the same, right? Now I'm gonna check the angles that goes in between the mullions on the seal tracks. Make sure it fits inside the cavity. In this case, 2 1/4 is correct. Finish mill, quantity 6 of them because of the intermediate verticals. Now I'm gonna go and start checking the head inserts, which there will be same as daylight. So again, at this point, I will be doing my calculations, following the details. Okay, in this case, I confirm the 2 head inserts on both ends are correct. Now I'm gonna check the ones in the middle. 5 feet minus 2 inches and 3/4 from the intermediate verticals. That gives me 57 1/4. Now it's correct. Right now, I'm gonna check the Minimax, W75 3608. There will be 2 per unit, 2 inches long, as you can see on the note, on the detail. Now I'm gonna confirm is correct. Okay. With that, I concluded this elevation and I will move on to the next, right? On the metal checking, I don't have to go back and make sure I check everything because we only have those 2 documents and all the key sheets are in there. Okay. And that's what the field use checking process looks like. I know it's very simple, but it's very important to get the right length, part number, and finish for each elevation. Okay, so with that said, that's all I got. I hopefully it was clear enough. I know there was some technical difficulties, but hopefully it was easy to follow. My process is not as complicated as the previous ones, like producing the units and the setup and the pallet and the unit IDs, but it is important that everything is checked, right? Because everything that the takeoff group produced is always checked, right? That's why the PCs check every unit. We try to check as much as we can and as accurate as we can. Okay. Any questions?
Do you want to touch base on the glass really quick?
Sure. So the glass takeoff, as you guys know, is the week after we do the metal. I always to me, the glass and metals, they go together, right? Because sometimes we miss some stuff during the metal week, but when we start checking the glass, since the glass is more, we have to get the glass right? There's no other way around. If we get the metal off by a 16 or by an eighth, right? The operator who's gonna be working on the fabs, he's gonna be updating that, making it the right size, adding the, let's say, end caps, or adding some stuff that, you know, usually don't see during the metal takeoff week. But when we start checking the glass, we need to get the glass right. That's the one thing that I think I pay more attention, more important. They're both important, right? But the glass needs to be right, because if we get the glass off by a half inch, by an inch, and it gets to the shop, that will be a very big issue, right? There's no way around it. They have to reorder new glass. So that's why these two processes go hand to hand. And again, for the metal, it's important. We have to get the right metal, right part number, right finish, right? And the glass, we have to get the right glass, the right sizes, and the right glass type. So for the glass, I usually either during the weekend, I just work and get my glass sizes on a copy that I make for myself. And I start adding all my glass types. So when Jana released the glass to me, I already know the sizes, right? So I have to be more focused on the glass types. I don't know if that answered your question, Jana.
I know how you do it. I just want you to say something for everybody else.
Oh yeah, these two goes hand to hand, like I said. So we need to get both right? But with the glass, it's a must, right? There's no, we don't have that many room to get mistakes. And I know there's cases when we get the wrong glass and it goes back to us, and you know, I hate to see that, right? Whatever you produced, you want it to be right. And if you make a mistake, I'm responsible for it because I highlighted green. So whatever we get, if we get called from the shop, goes from a PTS or something, you know, I feel responsible for it. Any other question?
I mean, I think for the people that are on the call, it's important to understand that, like, all the stuff we're doing at this stage, when we do the metal takeoff and the glass takeoff, is used by the next team when we do the tickets. So it's really critical that all of this stuff is right, because then when we go do the tickets, everything will come out and it will be a lot easier for the people doing the ticket part, because the glass mark numbers are correct, the glass sizes are correct, the right metal's in the right place. So it sets us up for success. And all the stuff that you're doing, the checking part, is great to see, because that's a good back check for the shop drawings. You know, you're checking the cock joint sizes against, you know, because the unit was made by the model, but you're checking it back against the shop drawings and the shop drawing details, which could be out of sync. So there's some good quality control going on when you do your part to do that check. So that's good to see too, I think.
It's really nice with multiple colors, because you guys usually get it straight for us before we get to doing the fab tickets. Make sure that that unit is the right color and those parts are the right color. Because if it gets to us, it's already too late. Now we got to wait weeks to get back order material. So it's great that you guys set that up for us from the beginning.
Yes, and that's also, that's good that you mentioned that, Ron, because sometimes I know we make mistakes and we don't always get the feedback. So if you guys in the fab team see something that we couldn't fix or we couldn't cut during the metal week, please, you know, let us know. So for the next job, we'll be more cautious and paying more attention to these little, you know, details that, you know, sometimes we don't think will affect the next person down the line, but, you know, it might also. So always is good to have some feedback, either from the shop, from the field. In this case, our customer is the takeoff group, the person who's gonna be creating the fab. So if there's any feedback, please feel free to let us know. Okay, so if there's no more questions, this is it. Thank you for listening, and I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. Yesterday when I was practicing, I know everything went right, but today I set up my microphone and everything went wrong. So
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, Carlos. Good job.
Yes.
Good job,
Thank you,
Carlos.
Carlos. Good job.
Carlos.
Very good.
bye guys.